Welcome. When it comes to dealing with coordinates, they can be rather helpful in getting you about when traveling. However, when you're dealing with the unknown, a set of random coordinates, it adds an element of intrigue, but also risk. Do you chance it? Do you go out of your way to explore the unknown in hopes of finding something of value? Or do you put your life in danger and risk never coming back? Well, it appears to have occurred in the Kenny Veach case recently by a familiar face with a cryptic video and a link to the potential M cave. Hi there, today we are looking at none other than the hiker known as Really Robin, and besides spreading awareness about who they really are and the fakeness along the way, we need to highlight the dangers. Because when it comes to coordinates like what we're looking at today, the location it's in, there are dangers and people could get in trouble. So it's about spreading awareness in the terms of a map analysis, but also acknowledging the creepy coincidences and how things can overlap because a story has been told, a weird reference and link to Stranger Things, I believe season 5, the finale season or so. So join me today as we start with a slideshow analysis of what's come about in recent time and what we're going to be looking at today. And then a map analysis later highlighting the importance of the area, ground view analysis to try and determine what's there of interest. Is it to do with the location of the M cave? Or is it to do with where the location of Kenny Veach's body could be found? Or maybe just where he was taken? And furthermore, make the links and crossovers to areas of interest when it comes to the original M cave hike route, because it is very close to the border. With that being said, welcome if you are currently here during this live premiere. Share your thoughts and reactions in the live chat on the right side of the screen. And at any point or time, if you have a question, answer, thoughts, theories, it's all welcome. Share your thoughts down below in the comment section under the video. It'll help with spreading awareness and starting new discussions. If you want to support my channel, down below pinned message is a PayPal link and channel membership. And if you just simply want to catch up on my recent coverage, the full playlist on Kenny is available top right corner where the eye symbol is up there. With that all being said, let's begin. This on screen is a screenshot from Robin's video. I didn't want to play it due to copyright, but it's story narration with an AI voice in the background. And for example, it mentions about a character that wandered into a cave and disappeared for 12 hours. So you could say, is there a slight little coincidence or indirect reference which could be applied to the Kenny Veach case, in which he found the M-shaped cave, went inside and disappeared. But was it for 12 hours or was it for good? Who knows? But in terms of time passing by and being lost, well, that could apply to Jeff Clark, who did lose time after getting zapped when in the desert. However, Jeff did not enter any cave. So it's a very weak crossover. But what's more important is the description, which down below, whilst the video was posted the 27th of November 2025, rather recent, the coordinates down there, and you prefer to be blind. Where do they lead to? And what's within the area? Is it the cave? Is it Kenny? Well, we'll find out very shortly, but be sure to stick around for that. In regard to this cryptic type video, one thing I did check out was, when it comes to the cave location in Stranger Things, was there a backstory? And it says, a cave system existed beneath the town of Rachel, Nevada. At some point between 1945 and 1959, the Nevada experiment, a secret government attempt at interdimensional travel, was established within Nevada. However, a staff member from the Nevada experiment defected and hid essential equipment in the Rachel caves. So, with that being said, you can see how it can link and cross over to the Kenny Veach case, more so the theories along the way. that maybe the vibrations which Kenny felt coming from a cave was in fact military-related equipment. Whether that is to do with interdimensional travel, or if it was an access denial system, or something else unknown, that sensations and experiences can come from exposure to unknown equipment. And for the stranger general public, they're not going to know what's really causing it, but it's going to make them feel maybe scared, uneasy. It might push them away, or it could even encourage them to get closer. And depending what that equipment is, it could lead to a person entering the cave and disappearing for good, or for a certain length of time. If there is some kind of interdimensional travel, maybe that's how it could indirectly link to how the story's portrayed here. So I understand the links with Kenny Veach, but this could just well be a creative attempt to try and make it seem like that's what really happened to Kenny. What we need to remember and acknowledge is where his scent ended at, and were any caves nearby? From the looks of it, no. However, maybe the coordinates could lead to a new lead. Well, people may hope and think that, but the reality will kick in. So, whilst it does say Rachel, Nevada, coincidence with Kenny Veach, the Nevada Mojave Desert, a little bit more into the Stranger Things, the cave system beneath town of Rachel. It says at some point between 45 and 59, an experiment, secret government attempt at interdimensional travel. This equipment went on to change the trajectory of Henry Creel's life forever. Henry, a child who lived in Rachel with his family, was exploring the caves one day whilst playing with his spyglass. Whilst exploring, Henry stumbled across the scientific equipment. The technology unexpectedly activated, transporting Henry and the rogue staff member to Dimension X, killing the staff member in the process. In the alternate world, Henry saw glimpses of strange creatures and was exposed to the influence of a shadowy entity. So, if Kenny Veach stumbled upon such equipment and he was transported elsewhere, did it go wrong and it killed him? And that's why he's not been found since, because he was taken somewhere completely different in an alt world, and he was also disposed of. And if not that, did Kenny come across things he wasn't supposed to see or wasn't expecting? Strange creatures, the unknown. Really, Robin, the original, and some others like J. Chuck have acknowledged the possibilities of some winged cryptoid creature out there in the Nevada desert, and that Kenny Veach may have stumbled upon it himself in the process, and it took him away. Who knows? But somewhat interesting. And what was also shown in that little narration by Robin's video, it just so happened to be a supposed cave from Stranger Things. And in the Nevada desert, whilst it may not be in the location of Little Jomay Canyon, the coincidence of the shape and the characteristics is rather interesting. And hopefully you can see it on screen. If not, the edited version, where you see the red marker, is what we're looking at, an M-shaped cave. It's not the cave of Kenny Veach, or so you'd think, but it is a coincidence. Out of all the shows out there and TV series and the talk about a cave, it just happens to be in Nevada, possibly Mojave Desert. Bit of a coincidence. But then to actually show an M-shaped cave when it could have been any generic shaped cave, but an M of all things, it's a very interesting coincidence. We'll just put it like that. It says it's most likely the same cave Henry first entered. And you notice how it was worded, first entered, meaning they've already been there. Well, as with Kenny Veach, he attempted to first enter it, but didn't get far. On his second attempt, he just couldn't find it. On his third attempt, he went missing. So did he finally come across it and went further in? And that's when things went wrong? Different ways of looking at it. But just so we can zoom in, so it's a bit easier for you, you may wonder what those figures Well, it's probably from Stranger Things. It may have been a scene where there was a camera panning out of the area and just looking around. But you can clearly see an M-shaped cave. And it's kind of interesting. Is it deep? Based on this show, it supposedly is somewhat deep. It does appear somewhat dark. I wouldn't say it's quite the height of Kenny because it is a bit bigger, but it does share the characteristics roughly how he described at some point as well. It is on the side of a mountain, or, well, kind of. It's not quite on ground level. It's so far up from the looks of it. However, Kenny Veach did contradict himself, where he said, well, it's kind of on ground level, on the ground, like here. But then he also said on the side of a mountain, which could mean so far up or towards the top. And this is so far up from the looks of it. So you let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Simple coincidence, or is there more to it? I personally don't think that Stranger Things have been influenced by Kenny Veach directly. There's been some documentaries or the odd video film out there where they said they were inspired about missing people. They were influenced by Kenny's disappearance. But as popular as the case is, it's not been heavily influenced in lots of shows or movies out there. More so Area 51, base, aliens, and that in general vaguely is what is influenced when it comes to films and documentaries, etc. But who knows, as time grows, there could be more that follows. But when we're looking at this, is a map, federal lands in southern Nevada. Where you see the red line on the right hand side is the border, and you see a general area of the land to do with military, the Nevada test site, Nellis Air Force Range, and around Nellis Air Force Range, close to, on the other side of the border where you can publicly walk about, that's where Kenny claimed to have found the M cave, though his wording more so was Nellis Air Force Base and not Air Force Range. Maybe it was a mistake by him. We've always got to look into it. And you could be wondering, why are we looking at this map at this moment in time when we're dealing with this cave, this reference to Stranger Things, and the details behind it is because of the coordinates and where it takes you to. And it is quite eye-opening and shocking. With that being said, I'll zoom in just a little bit, makes it easier for you. Very roughly, M Cave, mine shaft, down that way. It's not clear. It's Sheep Range, Little Jimmy Canyon, etc. I believe that's Alamo Road. And there's the border. So it's very close to where Kenny was hiking and other people since. So if you get too close to the border, if not go over it, you're in trouble. And that's how it links to today. Another general perspective here, just so it's a bit clearer. This is the Nevada Test and Training Range, military-related land. Got a highway down there, the 95 highway, which you do see there. 95 highway, which goes into Las Vegas and passes by the military land and where Kenny was to go off to do his hike. And in terms of name locations, you got Nellis Air Force Range, and you got the different areas. Of course, you got Area 51 in Green Lake, Area 51 base, and then the rest of the land people regard to as Area 51, but there are specific names for these plots of land. Area 18, Area 1, Area 2, and so on. Yucca Flat, P tunnels, N tunnels, that's interesting. We've got Schooner Crater, Astronaut Training. Wow. Of course, you can pause the video if you want to. Project 57. Restricted airspace. And then over that way, top right corner, you've got Tickaboo Valley. You will also have off-camera Tickaboo Peak, but as in getting up there or getting close, kind of pushed back by military, meaning it's not as accessible as it was in the past. And I guess what people would do was use Tickaboo Peak to use it as a vantage point to look over Area 51 and use binoculars. You might see some videos on YouTube. Frenchman Flat, not to be mixed up with Frenchman Mountains. Then on the right, you've got Nellis Air Force Range, Creech Air Force Base, and that might have been the other one, Creech area and Nellis, like a triangular effect of military bases. And you caught up within that or nearby with aircraft, unidentified and identified, coming and going from places. It can be high activity. So with Kenny Veach out there in the open, he may have encountered it himself. But did it target him? Beside the cave? Beside potential equipment? Could it have come from the sky, the air? You never know. We've been in the area now where Kenny Veach did his original hike. As for these coordinates, where will it take us? Somewhere down here? Maybe further over this way? Maybe into the mountains like where the supposed tent was found, the claims by Gene Lukowski in the past? Maybe in that area where some weeks ago a random viewer said some coordinates over that way need to be checked out too, which was very random. But it's not to do with this area. It's not down here either. If I type it in right now, copy and paste it, get ready for this. As you can see, right there. I've already got a beacon marker already, so if you want to note the coordinates down, you can do so if you want. However, if we zoom out just for a second, right, you see, I've called it military land because it is. From what we were looking at before, in terms of that map, where military-owned land, this falls right within it. So if anyone was to try and even get here, they wouldn't stand a chance. But if anyone was to try and cross the border further back, could get in some serious trouble. So in a way, Robin indirectly is encouraging people to go to military land. And of course, you do that, you're going to get in serious trouble. You might even get shot, depending on the situation. Look at what happened to Mac Adventures when the father stepped over the gate line, the border area, to Area 51. Then they were held up by military with firearms, some guards. They were fined, and after that they disappeared and were in some detention centre for 4 to 6 months. So that could happen to you if you chanced going to these coordinates. I'm not saying that you would get here or even stand a chance, but just if anyone made the attempt to do so, it's probably not a good idea. And that's not about covering anything up, it's about being realistic. With that being in mind, I've got the Area 51 marker down here, because that's where the Area 51 base is, right? See the surrounding area. They're heavily restricted. And over that way, if I zoom out, you've got the coordinates given by Robin, all to do with military land. Of course, you could ask yourself, why such specific coordinates? You know, what's Robin trying to suggest? That Kenny was taken to Area 51 by military guards because he knew of secrets and they didn't want it slipping out? Well, really, what Robin should have done was just provided coordinates right here. It would have been obvious and basic, but the story of, oh, this is where Kenny Veach can be found at the base, hidden away, right? We've kind of heard that theory before. But when coordinates are given on military land, for example, but it's not at a base, it's just in the desolate open areas, restricted, what else is going on over that way? So let's just take a look up close at what it looks like and zoom in. And then we can measure the distance as well. So we do have some kind of like mountains in this area. Do we have any named locations or canyons round about? I'm not too sure. This marker is just a base one. But you can see it has been used for military. See, like makeshift pathways, dirt roads. It branches off over there. I'm guessing this is used for testing. It was bombing, firing, vehicles. So, what's this got to do with Kenny Veach? or the M cave, if anything. Can slow it down just a little bit so you get to see it yourself visually. Doing this for the very first time, looking at it, whether there's any like little dug-in bunkers, mounds as well. Looks rather interesting in a way. I've not really been over this way before. I think Jay Silverheels might, and said he could make out some unusual patterns. Circular like her. So this will be classified as Area 51, area, whatever the number was on that like grid reference. What's that there? It's a little white object. One of those things where it's like a needle in a haystack. You can look at it zoomed out at the things that stand out the most, but then the closer you look, you'll see additional stuff too. Right? Interesting. And then down here, all these circular zones. And then it's gravel. Interesting. But you can see where the trees are and where they're no longer either cut down or destroyed, one way or another. Don't see any vehicles at that moment in time. But I am very certain that there'll be some people in the comments that will know exactly what's going on. The reason why I'm doing this is just to get an idea of the area and what's going on. That's interesting. Some trailers, tanks. Now this is drifting further away from the coordinates, but just get an idea of activity levels, what it's used for, and how often it is. Luckily, the satellite imagery is a lot clearer around here. I'm sure you can go back in time as well to check for additional, whether it's changed, expanded or not. There isn't any ground view like 360 or street view, no roads to explore. Would be no surprise there. But yeah, these patterns in the ground, these markings, rather interesting. Like discoloration of the ground too. And then what do we have here? New trees, but no real buildings of any sort, or tanks, or target practices. Anyway, let's not go too far away. We've got a reference there, Split Ridge. We go back closer to this area, and what's that? Just a mound, bit of a hill. I guess if you see anything yourself, you can let me know in the comment section, but this is where the coordinates were. When looking at this spot, I personally don't see anything myself. Some dots, probably rocks, and that's about it. I don't see a body. I don't see bones. Not that you'd expect to see them. Unless you possibly used the coordinates to go back in time in this exact area, back to 2014, if that was possible. I guess what I could do in the background, because I can only do it on computer to use Google Earth Pro, I'll go back in time and then I can give an update in a video or in a comment here and just say, did anything change from then till now? Because this will be more updated satellite imagery. You can tell visually it's changed. The colouring as well. So we've got some mountains, mounds and hills going up and down. Some flatter open area here. Military related land, as said. But still, it's just trying to figure out, are there any caves, just as an example? And I just don't see any at this moment, unless you pick up on any. Shadows, that's all there. Shout out to the people that have said that they do like the map videos, that's good to see. I'll try and do them when I can. There's like some grey scraped marks in the ground there. But, an area like this, I've not seen any coordinates before given. You know, sometimes where it could come up often by different people, keep referring to the same location or nearby, and you think, is something really going on there? This is the first time. And for me, zooming around in this area a first time, because there'd be no other reason to do so in the past. Kenny Veach's scent ended at the mine shaft. What's it got to do with this? And you know what? People could say, well, because it doesn't mean much. Well, yeah, but not too much time wasted, as in looking at it on the maps. Time wasted would be if a hiker tried going out there or getting as far as they could, wasting their time, endangering their lives, getting in trouble with military, government, and beyond. So, as a heads up, this area is off limits. And most people may already know, but those that aren't familiar with the case, could get led astray. So it's about spreading awareness before people get in trouble or in danger. There's no harm in doing it. Not going to kill anyone. More so, someone could be killed if nothing was done about it. But it's rather bland, this area, I'll be honest with you. I don't see too much going on. But, of course, you might see stuff that I don't. So you can always provide timestamps below of this video where you may have picked up on something unusual. Quite dark in that area, probably just the shading. Interesting. And we've got belted range HP over there. So, I don't know. There you go. Look how far that is away. Mineshaft, Kenny Veach's phone, coins found, 22nd of November. That's way over there. And these coordinates are over this way. These coordinates are closer to the base of Area 51 than it is at the hike route of Kenny Veach. So, I believe that these coordinates are not to do with Kenny Veach hiking to this area, because he wouldn't be able to in the first place, it's military land, but also in regard to the M Cave location, I don't believe these coordinates are of the M Cave, or the M Cave which Kenny came across. See, these coordinates are somehow to do with Stranger Things. Well, Stranger Things was to do with tunnel cave networks, Rachel, Nevada town. This is not Rachel, Nevada. There's not a direct link there. The coordinates were provided near to Rachel, Nevada, and the crossover with Stranger Things and the crossover with that M cave in that clip, well then, yeah, you could say there's a bit of a link, but this is something completely different. And even if somehow a cave was in this area, it just doesn't make sense, because Kenny claimed to have encountered it first time round. And he mentioned Nellis Air Force Base. If he meant test range, he couldn't have meant on the range or beyond, because he would have been on military land. He would have got in trouble back then. He would have got taken away. Something could have happened to him likely. So he likely found the supposed M cave, as he claims, on public land, which is accessible. And then later, just after his disappearance, military wanted to take over further land. And I can show you what I mean shortly. But just to finish off in this area and touch up, we don't see canyons to that extent because the ground's a bit more flatter. Nothing really stands out to me. Just vegetation there. I mean, the only reason why you could say coordinates are here is because Kenny Veach was taken to this area, for example, by military. But still, why? Why would Kenny be taken to military land, private land, and then in the open, far away from the base, far away from a potential cave? And what happens here? Executed, taken out, silenced? Has there been any events in the past, any aircraft, spaceships, anything beyond that which may have crashed in this area? I know there was that recent news and what people were talking about near or at Area 51, there was aircraft, there was some kind of crash. I don't know if it links to these coordinates or not, I don't think they would be giving direct coordinates out anyway in the first place. But what I'll do, I mean, you can't even really say it's a connection of mountains, either the ones back there, but even these, there's not really much going on. Don't see any holes, much at all. I noticed, I don't know if anyone else has noticed it, but when it comes to Google Earth nowadays, if you explore for too long on the app or you zoom out too much, it makes everything slower when processing. And when you look away, it goes pixelated. Has anyone experienced that themselves? I don't know if there is a way to fix it. There is a setting where you can change the rendering quality, and I did set it to maximum previously, and all that does, it just makes it lag. It doesn't actually make it better or clearer. So I just keep it on medium setting. If I now get the tool up to try and measure the distance roughly from the coordinates of Kenny's hike, it'll probably come across as rather shocking, but we might as well do it whilst we're here. And we can also do it from here to the military border in a given direction. Oh boy, that's quite some distance, isn't it? If we do it to near Corn Creek, that is, well, let's do it to what Alamo Road close to. It's about 77.59 miles and a little bit more. To the road, which is on getting onto public land, is 78 miles. Add that as a point for a second. Press done. Look at that. Kenny Veach's hike route highlighted in orange, and the mine shaft down there. And over that way, military land and beyond with a yellow marker. That's where the coordinates are given by Robin. And then over in the other direction, Area 51, the actual base. So, is anyone actually going to park up on Alamo Road and cover 77 miles on foot? Absolutely not. Could someone get closer over that way, edging the military border to get out and then hike a bit closer to it? Still too far away and still not possible. Simple as. You can't get on the land. But the reason why it's important to mention that is because in some areas it might not be as clear. And what I mean by that is not all areas are completely sealed off or completely fenced and barbed wire. There might be a perimeter in most areas, but it's like when people have done Area 51 and they've been exploring to try and find the entranceways, the gates, the back entrance, where it's unmanned. There might be a sign and that's it. There is a road which continues on, but you're not allowed to cross over it. You go over the boundary, you're in trouble. You go as far as you can, there'll be intervention pretty quick. Like motion detectors out there, hidden cameras, the lot. And people hiding as well and observing from afar. With that being said though, there are entranceways, roadways where it looks accessible. And technically it is. There's no barrier, there's no key card thing, you can just drive on through, but you are obviously going to be in danger. If that's the same with hikers going out there unfamiliar with an area, whether they're from the area or from a different country, and they thought, right, let's go here and explore. These coordinates must be to do with Kenny and the M cave, and we'll go there and we'll figure it out. Not going to get the chance. Going to get in trouble. Going to be in danger, if not worse. So why would Robin do something like that in such a reckless way? What? Just like how he did with the pen drive claim, whether it's there or not. You can argue and say that this so-called fake Robin is either causing misdirection or is more so, whether he's an actual hiker or not, there's no evidence of him hiking out there. But what I originally said, a rogue hiker. Could this person be a rogue investigator, a rogue person acting on behalf of someone or individually to cause trouble, to get people in trouble, in danger. Because, they could say, well, I'm just providing the clues and the hints to allow you to find the truth of Kenny. It's all there and whatnot. If you just drip feed or provide random coordinates with not much context, of course people can search the coordinates themselves and get an idea of the general area, work it out from there. But it would have just been a bit more simple if you said, here's the coordinates, and then in brackets, this is on military land. Guess what that means? And then leave it cryptic like that. It just feels like Robin kind of wants people to check out certain locations which could either be dangerous and or unknown, and not enough context is given, either because they expect you to already know, or they don't want you to know, because if you knew, you wouldn't go. Different ways of looking at it, of course. But you got to consider all angles and just the severity of it, the theme of the border. And as I said, in its own right, as a separate video, the border is important. See, when Kenny Veach may have found the M cave in this area, look how close to it, look how close to the border it is, highlighted in red. And if you didn't already know, because I think there was some people that made references, do you know when it comes to just under a year after Kenny's disappearance, the military wanted a land proposal takeover. And roughly speaking, I will show you what they wanted to take over. I'll just use a temporary measure. And this is like a rough one, but you get the idea. So Jeff Clark, this is just a rough one on the spot. From there onwards, up here and whatnot, something like that. So, what you see highlighted in there, like half, not fully complete rectangle, the military wanted a land proposal takeover of that area, and maybe probably a bit more up this way too. Why do they want this specific area and zone when they could be taking it over up this way? Why do they want it down here exactly? Because what it would mean is, if the military did get their way, which they didn't, if they did, it would mean you could no longer hike this whole area. You'd not be able to go down Jeremy Road, you'd not be able to go down Alamo Road, you'd not be able to pass through this area here, Black Hills Gap. You just wouldn't be able to explore Kenny's mine shaft, filled or not, Wild Horse Pass. Pitcher Canyon would be off limits as well. This whole area, what you see highlighted, is what the military wanted. And there are actual maps of it, actual maps to show. So it's quite shocking and strange, the timing too. And in terms of the military border being very close by, that could possibly link into search and rescue, limitations as to what they could and couldn't do, can and couldn't do. Whilst there may have been a commander, David Cummings, was he truly in command of it all? Because it said he was the one to have found the phone and coins at the mine shaft, or a mine shaft vertical. Was it the border people, those beyond, in higher command, that were observing Red Rock search and rescue as in what you can and can't do, whether you can or can't use drones and in certain areas, and more. It is very interesting, the timing altogether, and Red Rock keeping a tight lip about the Kenny Veach search investigation, what was found along the way, what was truly searched, what was done. General public doesn't know after all this time. Maybe Red Rock just can't open up more or elaborate because others, forces and higher-ups are involved and they don't want such details coming about. Maybe, if it wasn't so close to the border, as highlighted in red, everything on that side over there, military related, roughly speaking, and then what's on this side, still public at this moment in time. If there was no border, or it wasn't close to the military land and Kenny still went missing, maybe Red Rock would have given out more details and have cooperated more and tried more and there might have been less limitations in possible equipment being used, maybe. Because I wonder if there was anything of interest up one of these canyons on this side or on the other side of Jeremy Guzzler or at Picture Canyon, if there was anything military related or at some point before it may have been taken away by military. And why would military take it away? Well, a land proposal takeover to take the land, so then anything that's already on there by them, they now have in complete control, and no one, absolutely no one of the general public can access anymore. But if they didn't get that and they couldn't keep the land, well then all they can do is take what was theirs from it and move it on. So if any hikers do come by onwards, they're not going to find anything whatsoever. That could have been a plan by military, plan B, if you want to put it that way. Interesting. So you can leave your thoughts and comments down below. But as I said, there is a crossover, as in with the border reference, the search and rescue reference, and now dealing with very random coordinates all the way over here, 70 plus miles. I don't believe that there is anything of interest here. I believe it could be a waste of time. But what I do think is important as a reference is this military land, the expanse of it, the border, can link to the Kenny Veach case in some way. And with it being near to bases and whatnot, aircraft coming and going and flying on over, considering that in 2019, I did do a video on it at the time when it was available. In 2019, roughly, I believe, somewhere in this area, down here, there was like a spy plane, a drone caught on camera, flying on over public land, coming or going from the base, heading over that way. Could have been going to Area 51. You never know. And with it being so close to where Kenny would have been hiking, it makes you wonder if when Kenny was out there that final time in November, considering it said his scent ended at a mine shaft such as this one here, nowhere near those coordinates given by Robin, and it's before Kenny even came across caves or potential caves to just walk up to. Where you say spelunking or not, the main feature of the hotspots and caves, shallow mainly, are down this way, Picture Canyon. Kenny didn't even get to that point because his scent ended at the mine shaft. So besides the concept of him turning back and staging his disappearance, if he genuinely was out there looking for the cave, something happened to him at the mine shaft, but no body left, no blood, no gun, only the phone and coins left behind, and that was it. So was Kenny taken by the air? Was military-related equipment or aircraft flying on over nearby and caught him in the act out there? They were monitoring him, checking if he would head back out, and because he did, they needed to take some kind of direct action. You never know. As I said, these separate videos can be done, and I think the next one that could be done at some point, tying on with Jeff Clark, is the debate of would Kenny actually stage his disappearance based on the equipment that he took with him? Serious hiker on a serious mission, would a person faking it go to that length? Just like how does online resistance, those that want to push people away and go to such great length and depth and over time, are they doing it just for a prank, or is there more to it? I can understand what Jeff is getting at, and a separate video will come about that, whether that be in the style of a map analysis or imagery analysis. But hopefully you found that helpful. It'll be appreciated if you hit the like button, share the video to spread the awareness. The aim of this video is to spread the awareness that those coordinates provided seem to lead to not much, and even if it did, it's military-related land, so it's risky. But at the end of the day, the mystery continues on. Beside the awareness, there are additional videos and coverage that needs to be done, just in a certain order. We are seeing more resistance growing with time and impetuous behaviour, but it is what it is. It's just what comes hand in hand to daily coverage. With that being said, thanks for watching, appreciate it. Goodbye and good night for now.